Welcome, welcome, welcome to our poetry pop-up. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes, or I should say a couple of seconds, to allow everyone to filter in. So for those who are watching us via Zoom, that chat feature will be open at the bottom of your screen so that if you have any questions for our artists, you can drop those questions in, but I'm going to ask that you hold those questions till the end of the performance. And then if you're watching us via Facebook Live, we have the comment section there as well for you to drop in your comments as well. But again, I'm going to ask that you hold those comments until the end of the performance. So now that I see that we have a good number of you filtered into the Zoom, let's go ahead and get this started. So I'm your host, Daryl Dwayne, and this pop-up poetry event is in celebration of Norman Bluhm. We were very lucky to partner with Gallery Aferro. If you see to my left or my right, depending on how you're viewing me on your screen, you see Emma, who is here representing Gallery Aferro. And she's going to share a few words with us in a second. But I just want to quickly talk about the program itself. We also have our poets who are sort of underneath us, sort of like this Brady Bunch family. You kind of see the screens all set up there. And these poets are going to be getting into our speaking in a few seconds as they share their thoughts and their artistic expressions and how they connect to the works that will be featured tonight. Before we jump into it, Bloom, right? Some of you may be like, Norman Bluhm, who? Like, or you may be very familiar with his work. But for those who are not familiar with his work, and for those who may not be as familiar with his work as others, there is a very strong correlation between Norman Bluhm and the spoken word. So his work is currently on exhibit at the Newark Museum of Art. And unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we're not allowed to go into the museum. However, we wanted to find a workaround, a very clever workaround, to where you can experience his work at home. So with that, we'll be highlighting works from we'll be highlighting different pieces from the Norman Bluhm exhibit that's currently on exhibit at the Newark Museum of Art. And our beautiful poets tonight will be speaking to our, I should say, performing, not really just speaking, but performing works that they've written that have been curated or are created with the works in mind. So with that being said, Norman Bluhm and background about a little bit background about Norman Bluhm. Him and the written word sort of kind of go way back. He uses the written word as an instrument in creating a lot of his work, a lot of his illustrated work or his paintings. With that, he's had a very strong partnership with a American poet by the name of Frank O'Hara. And Frank O'Hara and him sort of, there's a backstory to this. So him and Frank O'Hara started off this conversation where essentially there was a song on the radio. And to illustrate the point that Bloom wanted to make, he got up and he started to sort of make a gesture and on the paper. And from there, Frank O'Hara got up and wrote something on that paper. And just like that, they sort of started this conversation, this dialogue, one artist using one vehicle and another artist using a totally different vehicle to have this conversation back and forth. And so with that, we felt that this was the perfect setup to sort of engage our viewers with the, with the idea of spoken word, correlating with the idea of the illustration that are the paintings that you'll be seeing tonight. So with that, I'm just going to pass the baton over to Emma so she can introduce our amazing artists so we can go ahead and get started.
Oh, hi, thanks, Daryl. So I'm Emma Wilcox. I'm the co-founder of Gallery Aferro here in Newark. And for anyone who's tuning in to watch from wherever you're watching, thanks for joining us tonight. So Gallery Aferro is an artist-run space. We're an alternative space. And of course, we do exhibitions and events, and we have a year-round artist residency program. But the work that I often am most proud about to talk about is the work that is a little bit defiant of description, a little bit hybridized and multidisciplinary. And so that kind of work maybe is like the Aferro Mobile Portrait Studio that roamed the city a couple years back, or our hacked vintage payphone and elevator, which will play sound art and music and oral histories and poetry for you. And the work that we aim to do at Gallery Aferro is sort of experimental and responsive. And I can't think of two better words to epitomize the work that I get to see done by people's open mic. And it's been my pleasure for many years to have Gallery Aferro every last Wednesday of the month, rain, snow, or shine, to host People's Open Mic, which is the longest running open mic in the city of Newark. So again, those words, experimental and responsive. What I love the most about poetry is that it appears to resist being consumed by late capitalism. It just sort of is something that these extractive, repressive forces seem to have a hard time chewing up and digesting and subsuming. And that's what I love the most about poetry. So I just, in light of events this week nationally and today and even tonight, just honoring and celebrating and talking a lot about poetry as resistance seems really important. And so it's my great pleasure and honor to be doing this work in partnership with the Great Newark Museum. Shout out to John Cotton Dana. And to introduce our three poets. So thank you, Joel Chase, Mia X, and John Gavin White.
And before we get into the performance of the have these amazing poets take the stand, I do want to just highlight, it's really important too that we acknowledge that Bloom also worked with other poets as well, not just O'Hara. And that Bloom and O'Hara also created a 27 poem painting series together, along with the fact that Bloom was featured on the cover of Yugen #7, which is a beat poetry journal. And I really wanted just to show you how intertwined his works were with the spoken word. So you truly walk away with from this experience sort of maybe refortified and rejuvenated, because I think the beautiful thing about art, it has a healing quality to it. And I feel like at the end of this, with everything that's happening around us right now, that's exactly what we need. We're going to be examining or looking at works from the current exhibition titled Normal Bluhm Metamorphosis. And to no longer ado, I'm going to start off with our first poet of the evening, Mia. So Mia, if you're ready, we're going to start with you. We're going to get the artwork up so that our viewers can see the piece that inspired your piece. And you have it from there.
Hey, hey. All right. Here we go. Peacock. How blue do green over splattered dreams when angular screams turn corners into circles? Circles that strangle yellow till it pop out purple. Gray scratches whisper white, can't hurt you. Golden flax and maiden. Psychedelic graffiti, a dookie rope chain of sunshine around my heart, beaming over cloudy shadows, a pink promise tied in a teal ripple of hope. Fresco. Fresco flowers grow back into the vortex womb of blue blood, spiral scratch, lightening my hips, a thick black line in the sky, fighting through an orange moon sighting. I am red at my center.
John?
So while John is working with the technical difficulties, I think his mic is muted. I do want to remind our guests that those who are part of this evening's event, as they work through the poems, as we go through the works, please drop in our chat whatever emotions or whatever words come to mind. So I meant to start off or lead with that before Mia jumped into reciting her poem. So as we work through the works, again, I just want you to, in our chat, whatever feeling, emotion, color, action that you feel, or however you're struck by the piece that's being performed, insert that word in the chat, because a little later, we're going to have them take those words and sort of do what we call a poetry cipher. So again, jump in, feel free to write it in the chat, and I'm going to let John take it from here. He's ready to rock and roll. Here we go.
In the sifting sands of our youth, my two younger brothers and I, black and unsure, or rather black and standing by the shore, understood our father as found. We were lost. Our father, A cocoa-colored paradox of transparency and monolith spoke thresholds and dared us to cross. We crossed. My two younger brothers crossed back. I stayed. A watery warm darkness, tongue collapsing, riddled with fright. My father, ever the long unseen hand, reached beyond and above to turn on the lights, to which, upon reconstruction, with a blanket of ocean pulled back, I saw a garden of what I believed to be ghost orchids, and decided to wear it as a vest. My father promised as long as I kept it on, bullets were not bullets, but butterflies that can enter only his chest, his heart. My father and I are still alive. My two younger brothers are stuck sounding out their names in the dark. I have not spoken to either of them in over a decade. I say this as a means to keep writing. It's very rare that members of the same family grow up under the same household. I was never the same once my mother kicked me out my first household. By never the same, I mean hope became scourge and scourge became open wounds. So please be careful how you acknowledge me. Pain is simply another ocean. Trauma is delta of an extension. And what's a river of suffering to he who's had countless crucifixions and all of them well attended? He who revels when any synonym for theory that carries his name is mentioned. He who is man not assemblage, consumed. He who needs only a single ribbon of merciless light to tie whatever it is white men deem pensive of black male flesh to a helium balloon, upswept by searing winds of memory. There is the memory of me as a verb-shifting boy, caught peeking through the keyhole of my father's despair as he was undressing rage and I stood erected. My masturbatory response to having a clenched fist is never unwelcome. It's bigger than me. It's bigger. Thomas, in the darkened theater, grasping his historic heft with madness seeming so voluptuous, but he, like I, can never seem to release our demons. He, like I, will exit far more grand than how we've entered. The world is a stage. There is nothing but applause when black men exit. Fuck it. There was never enough sky anyway for me to enter the stage on cue. And if the earth has never appeared to you as a gaping mouth, ain't shit that you and me can talk about. I've had too many things belonging outside, inside. I've had multiple suns bear down on me in myriad weather, but a real nigga will claim each and every one of his shadows, so really, it's whatever. A real nigga will show you the dungeon where he bartered with all kinds of madness, negotiated with silence, all types of sanity until there is nothing left. But a real nigga knows that he is worthy of breath, even after his last breath. I once held a knife to a pen for threatening to expose me. I grew past exposure and now hold my pen to knives for clarity. I forced them to cut a hole into the page the size of God's mouth. I forced God to speak. I forced my name into scripture. I pressed scripture down into a single mercy. God have mercy on me. Forgive me, Father, more so than sin I have seen.
Feathers, records, music, rain, fire, freedom, love, pain, magic, magenta, yellow, a roaring horizon with possibility on drip. Scratch and bend and twist like wind, blow and spin and spark your skin into a sunrise of a difference, a connection, a mission signed in blood. Blood orange, blood grape, sour lemon, bitter hate, that sweet mouth, a trigger holding a bigger man's hand in a dagger, a heartbeat, a pulling for a dear life in a deep sea of ruby brother hearts. Nude. Layers, a body deconstructed, outlined in red, a thick yellow frame, a mask being removed, a head like a rock. Are we lit? Watch while they push it with their pink nude layers, a body, I think this in layers. Dripping, dripping, splattered, black, white, brown, running, running, running down, smudged, brown, wet paper bag you couldn't fight your way out of, ink in your eyes, your tongue tastes a hollow why, your black truth, their white lie, dripping, dripping down, falling, falling, running, sliding down, dripping, dripping.
From this hypnagogic vernacular tomb of no more, please, and mercy, buried several fears deep in hard earth. Memory defaults as path becomes pulse, blood gleams, and poems shake violently to emerge from the dirt. Good poems. Stanzas pulsate between curse and prayer. My newly resurrected body of work presented with flesh thought inside out, flesh thought in layers. The way out is in. Grabbing the nearest book, literate veins is how I begin. After removing the word angst from my mouth, I noticed the cover is sanguine, homespun, partially undone. Fortunately, where I'm from, he, she with stoner life don't rock. Where I'm from, he, she is black without knowing exactly how blackness began, yet perform as if it's been told, as if the rumors of ancient rain had been confirmed of wetting the blackness of half bodies whole. My poems are indexed between body and thorn. Blood on a page bespeaks a nigga's competence. I'm a competent nigga. You will never call me dead. Even with breath removed, my blackest of black has a tenacious pact with the wind. And the tenacity of at least one of my two daughters will surely grip the placenta of a pen. My unruly geography remapped again, revealing a divinity that lets black bodies in. And I become a portion of the night, which means a portion of the moon, and a portion of its light, and a portion of how ocean kisses land with confidence to make things right, and a portion of what at least one of my two daughters will seek to name when they write. Fuck death. I consent not to be a single being, which is to say, I die to get back up and survey the rest of the day. If I refuse death by exile, am I saying house rules of human don't apply? Yes. Do I really have gall to scream grievances at formalities of flesh? Yes. If I'm truly the center of my own altar, can I choose how to engage? Yes. Is mortality merely a muted paradox that correlates to little more than a blank page? Yes. My plan is to approach death possessed. Oracle's eye for the word, eternal sleep truncated, tireless metaphor, similes heaped upon fallacies of finite. Before now, before after which imagery invokes resuscitated breath. Through blasphemy of death-devoted word, I come alive once more. Indeed, the death-defying dream. Quasi-vertiginous reflections of a gangster lean, projective center. I stand alone, broken, whole, shading death. Word, image, life. Word, image, separated. There, here, impervious groundswell, rationale, fear, virtue, strife. Life itself appears only as a means to life. Indeed, we don't know how to live because we're convinced we know how to die. Hence, the poem has always been the only motive. The horizon is wide. Four corners of my earth reaching the four corners of my sky. The fugitive act of stolen life wave. And to think there are still white folk who believe black men emerged fully formed from the grave.
And our last and final poet will be Joel.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. No matter. Is this right then? We put all our ducks in a row, all our ducks of the underword, all made of quarks, which are or are not matter, but certainly are not meaning, though the ducks mean. As we line the ducks up, they make a surface of water, surface and water that are not, do not matter, but do mean. The matter then cannot mean. The meaning is nothing. But we keep on lining up the ducks. Beneath the surface of water is depth. The more ducks, the more depth. And dark. And murk. All of which is no matter. No matter. Not matter. But is dark, murk, and deep. Story layered upon story. Stories without matter, but with meaning. How is it possible to live like this? To make stories that mean, but are no matter.
Wow, that was amazing. Really, really amazing. Before we segue into the ending portion of our segment where you get to acknowledge our artists and also any Q&A, any questions you might have for them, I just want to quickly shout out their platforms and who they are. So we have Mia X, who was the female poet you heard enter she spoke in and out of throughout the evening. Her Instagram is here, located there, along with her Twitter. We also have Joel Chase, I'm sorry, and Joel is a retired teacher. He was the final poet you heard in the evening, and then we have John White. John White actually recited an excerpt from his forthcoming book. So definitely be on the lookout for that. The title of that book is I, John the Conqueror, a new spelling of my name. So I want to open up the floor for Q&A if there are any questions that you all may have for them. In the chat, you can insert those questions. But I also want for my poets, because as I told you all earlier, we're going to be doing this poetry cipher. And I saw that we did have people submit their words that they wanted to be included in this poetry cipher for this evening. So I want to give you those words in advance while we take on any questions from our audience members. So that way you all can be thinking about how you want to use those words. So I got a list of 6. Again, you can pick whatever 3 or more from that list that you want to incorporate in a freestyle cipher spoken word moment. So the top of that list is the word love. The next word is growth. The other word is bloom. Ironic, I like that. The other word is powerful. We have curves. We have stretch. And I'm going to take one more from the audience. I see here we have opal. So I'm going to take opal or opal, and we're going to add that in there. All right, so you all be thinking about that. I want to just kind of jump into the question and the Q&A series really quickly. So for all of our viewers, if you have any questions for our panelists, by all means, drop those in. I see that Lene, she said the goal of connection, analysis, and process using our words to empower us. So I'm guessing she's speaking to the fact that some of the words that you all use to sort of highlight the paintings this evening sort of felt like they had moments of, or they were able to empower us, or the idea of this evening or the event for this evening tonight was to use the spoken word to empower us or be able to connect. What is the process of it? So one of the questions we have is, what is the process of creating your poems? How do you go about creating the poems that you all recite? I'll have John take this one first. So John, what is the process for creating your poems when you're writing your poetry?
If I'm being brutally honest, trauma. Unfortunately, it doesn't come from a good place. I forgot who I read or paraphrased one time saying some of the greatest artists, like great art, doesn't come from a happy place. I'm not speaking to the immediacy of the moment with everything that's going on in the cultural mainstream, but just, yeah, trauma, just in general, just me going through things that I have to ask why, be able to articulate the why, and then be able to articulate a how. And that's it. I take it from there. But it doesn't come from a happy place as of right now.
And this is a follow-up question from my own interest. Do you find it healing to use those traumas and then work through those traumas in the written word, in the form of the written word? Does it serve as a means for you to reconcile any of those traumas?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. A lot of my work, all of my writings take place in the context of what I call Black male self-recovery in the US, which is basically deals with the historical erasure of Black male vulnerability against the backdrop of oppression in the US. So absolutely, language is our only means of categorizing experience, and yes, it's therapeutic. It's a answer. May not be the answer, but it provides a number of answers for me. So yes.
All right. Mia, did you want to chime in on that about your inspiration, about what inspires you to create what is your process for creating some of your poetry? There you go.
Mute.
Thank you. I love this type of question because I sometimes, baby, be careful with the light. I sometimes pretend that only words that I say are the words that we get to keep. So I try to give word to those things that are just floating around, like as if, you know how, like if tomorrow you woke up, you couldn't have that anymore, you know? So that's kind of how I express through that. So I just looked at the colors, I just looked at it. And that's just what I feel like wanted to kind of come out, but it depends on what's going on around and within me. But I love the idea of looking at the colors and the pictures and seeing what those colors, you know, what words came. I love that part. So that was special just to this, to this event. I mean, for this.
And this is like a follow-up question as well for you. And one of my viewers I see also sort of agrees with me, where any of the poems you recited this evening sort of also influenced around what's going on currently in the world or in your own life, or.
Absolutely. They come out. They come out, you know. I was talking about like a sea of Black men's hearts. When I saw the red, I was just seeing blood. I was thinking rubies. You know, I was thinking about our love, like us coming together and loving each other. So I'm very much connected to what's happening right now. Very much connected.
I want Joel to also chime in on this as well about his process. So if you could also let us know, Joel, what is your process when you are writing, really quickly?
Everything comes out of a beginning rhythm for me. Sometimes that comes out of a dream. Sometimes it just comes out of something I hear randomly on a daily basis. It's the rhythm is obviously definitely connects eventually with words. But even if the words come first, they don't mean much to me or amount to anything unless I hear a rhythm that comes under them.
So it's almost like you do it in twofold, almost like how a musician may write lyrics to a song, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm actually was a jazz pianist with a group, a quartet for over 40 years. So that's my other life.
Okay, well, that makes total sense with that your process also flows the same.
Yeah.
This next question is for all of my panelists, and this question is in regards to Let's see. I just saw it and I got more questions pop in, so it kind of threw me off. Where did it go? Where did it go? There we go. So, who are you all reading or enjoying at the moment, poetry-wise? Anybody have any specific poet that there's currently, just enthralled with that they would like to share with our viewing audience?
Nikki Giovanni.
Nikki Giovanni, okay.
Let me go. I'm gonna go to the bed. My bed. I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm not trying to stop. I'm gonna get my shit real quick. I'm gonna show you.
Okay.
Richard, Robert Duncan, Nathaniel Mackey.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna show it up. Morgan Parker,
Okay.
Magical Negro.
Yes.
This is my Dinah Smith. I Would It Be Who I Homie. The second book, the poetry. Well, third.
Nice.
Homie, and Hanif Abdul-Rakim, A Fortune for Your Disaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely Dinah Smith is primary influence.
And I think that's something to acknowledge, right? That all artists are influenced by other artists. Sometimes you want to just claim things as your own or your own, your own doing or your own, they come from you, but all great works are inspired by other great artists. So I think that's really important to acknowledge that even poets, painters, we all are inspired by someone else. There is a question in our group chat for Mia, I should say. One of our viewers wants to know about your headpiece. So was your headpiece also inspired by Bloom's work? Is there a backstory to it? So they want to kind of hear a little more about that.
Well, I'm glad you guys like it. Get into it. No. I started wearing these headpieces.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know all of the history but I always tell people that I wear these because I'm married to my dreams. And sometimes I need to see color and like kind of jump out of myself and be more vivid because, people don't always believe everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here saying I'm a poet and I'm on New Jersey Transit and they like, where you going with all of, so it was a way for me to connect and share and show people that, look, I am married to my dream. I want to be vivid. I want to be colorful before you. Mm-hmm. I did these paper flowers myself. I undid my paper flowers, trying to get a little Frida Kahlo going. And my little orange, I make these and it's a good thing. It's inspiring. It feels good. And you can check back at my website because I'm gonna be selling these too. You know what I'm saying? You could how you doing entrepreneurship?
We're all about entrepreneurship. Like, I mean, this is the time for us artists to continue to thrive despite what's going on, in the circumstances that are outside of our control. So I'm all about that. So we're gonna, hopefully people will find you on your Instagram and on your social media. So if they are interested, they can contact you to get one of those beautiful headpieces that you have there. There are a couple of more questions, but before we jump into those questions, I want to get to this cipher because I've been sort of gassing this cipher up, right? Speaking to this idea that you're going to take these words that these, I don't want to say random, but basically these random words that were pulled from what you spoke to earlier this evening, and you're going to sort of just on the spot right now cultivate a poem that you're going to recite using those words. So just to remind our viewers, the words that were picked or chosen from our group chat that you, the viewers, submitted were love, growth, bloom, powerful, curves, and stretch. So what I want to do is, I don't know if Joel wants to step up first. I know Joel was one of our poets who's interested in participating in this particular part of our segment. Are you ready, Joel?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we'll have Joel go for it, and we're going to give you the floor.
Okay. Untitled.
All right.
Love is the powerful stretch, the curves of growth. Whatever blooms stretches, grows into power.
Oh, nice. That was nice. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. And that was on the spot, ladies and gentlemen, just so you're fully aware. Again, like I said, these words came from you all, and he did that in the few seconds he had in between answering our questions. So I'm going to close out this freestyle cipher with Mia. So Mia, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. And thank you guys for opportunity. I really had fun tonight. I love all of y'all.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Untitled. My life. What Opal opens up to become when she gets stretched. Let's love bloom all over her curves when her voice understands the powerful growth in love.
Oh, nice.
That's what
Really,
I got.
really nice. Yeah, no, I love it. 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 And it goes to or speaks to the fact that, you know, art is this thing that it can't be contained, right? Sometimes, you know, artists like having a space and being able to create this space where they can like sort of cultivate this stream of thought, or even if they're painting this work on canvas. But in some cases, you know, art is spontaneous and is right there in the moment. And I love that we were able to have this exchange in this moment. So I do want to close out with a couple more questions from the group chat, because I do see that our viewers have some things they want to inquire from you all. And this question actually goes to Emma. And where did it go? There it is. So Emma, this question is for you. Why poetry at the gallery? Is it important that the space include the written words in the programming? And if so, why? Emma, your mic, yeah. There we go.
Sorry, y'all. There's a learning curve with this. So Gallery Aferro was organized, again, in a highly experimental sort of artist-run alternative space ethos 17 years ago. And so what we value is exchanging ideas and creating that space, holding that space, sometimes kind of holding it apart with great effort, for dialogue and for sharing each other. So that isn't tied up with the specifics of any form, even though we are known for being sort of primarily preoccupied with the visual arts. It's really just a means to achieve this sort of ongoing social sculpture, this ongoing sort of experiment in what ordinary people can do. So we've had writers in residence, one of whom actually I think our first writer in residence was Rodney Gilbert. And more recently, playwright Lori Roper was a writer in residence. And our fellowship program is open to people that use words, that use language. Something that I've learned over the years is that sometimes people won't realize what you're willing to do, and beyond willing, what you want to do, what you long to do, unless you say it really explicitly. Gallery Aferro, we want to host plays, we want to host happenings. We have hosted things, again, that have kind of defied description, and they've been at the border of multiple art forms, because it's all in the service of that idea of sharing resources and creating dialogue. So bring it, please. If you're seeing this, consider this permission to propose your most impossible to describe idea. We might want to host it.
And I think that's important. I mean, Emma spoke a little bit to it earlier about how this poetry spoken word session has been something that's been a continued thing that they've done on site at Gallery Aferro. So when the world does open back up, the goal would be for you know, this to continue to happen there on site. And then we're going to be doing many more partnerships and collaborations with Gallery Aferro, along with our fellow poets here, to hopefully have them come to the museum and do some of our other public programs or public events. So we're sort of getting close to the end of the timeline of our time running out. And I want to make sure that I acknowledge those who put this together and were so helpful in making this happen. So I definitely have to give a shout out to Megan Douglas. This is sort of her baby, one of her event that she crafted and sort of, you know, walked us hand in hand to get us here to the finish line. So definitely want to shout out Megan Douglas. And I also want to shout out Trisha Bloom. She is the amazing curator that has made make this thing possible, because without Trisha and the wonderful teamwork that the curatorial team has done at the Newark Museum of Art, the Bloom Show wouldn't even be with us. So with that being said, we definitely want to acknowledge those two individuals, along with the staff at the Newark Museum of Art. for allowing us to be able to just continue to do programming off-site and to do it remotely. And we want to shout out all of you at home watching, because without you and your membership and joining in and partaking in these things and these programs wouldn't exist. I do want to quickly just make you all aware, for those who are not aware, that we have multiple programs that happen throughout the year, and we're going to continue to also have programs that happen throughout this time while we're not able to access the works at the museum. And a lot of our programming has gone virtual. It is in the digital realm. And I'm just going to just quickly acknowledge a couple of those upcoming programs we have coming up. So if you really enjoyed this and you really love the work of Norman Bluhm, you have multiple opportunities to get closer to his work. That would include the Norman Bluhm Bit by Bit. That is a new series that our curatorial team has put together, where they basically sort of give you little bite-sized nuggets about about Bluhm's work and the pieces that were selected for the current exhibition that we have on site. I also want to acknowledge that we have a bookmaking course. So all of my artists, if you're looking for something to do, I know we have a lot of free time on our hands now. So maybe this would be for you, especially if you are a writer. I mean, I think this kind of goes hand in hand. We have our poets here, and we're offering an online bookmaking course, so you can make your book and then, you know, maybe place or have your poems in the book you create. That is also available for you to, if you're interested in that information is located on our website. That is www.newarkmuseumart.org. We also have our Lunch and Learn series as well. Our Lunch and Learn series this week, we're going to be featuring work from the artist, from noted artist, I should say, Cam Bowie. He's going to be sitting on the sofa with Trisha, and they're going to be talking about some of his works that we have at the museum, and some of his future works that he has, things that he has in the pike that are coming down. And then we have on Tuesday our Ask an Astronomer session, which will be working with our on-site astronomers, along with talking to one of our guest astronomers about SpaceX and the history of space travel. So for all of you science enthusiasts who may be watching, that might be something that's for you. And then again, there's always multiple digital programs and programming happening, and that can all be found on our website at www.newarkmuseumart.org. I do see there was a question that I omitted with the last remaining 5 minutes I have. This is from Lori Roper, and this question is for our poets. Do you always write from your own point of view? Do you ever take on the point of view of someone else observing a work or experiencing? And how do you express the narrative or the story in that journey? So I want to just quickly allow you all to take that question, because that was one that was sitting in our chat for a while, and I didn't get to it. So either artist, if you want to take it, just kind of raise your hand and you can take the floor.
Question again?
Sure. So when you're writing, do you always write from your own point of view? And when you do write, do you have you ever written from someone else's point of view, or writing from the perspective of observing someone else's point of view? Either person can take that question. Okay, Joe, you're up first.
Yes, I have written from other points of view, and I've written from my own point of view. I think increasingly I write from an indeterminate point of view.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that's happened, but it seems maybe a gesture toward being more universal.
Yeah. I dig that. Mia, I see you want to chime in. You want to add in that?
I'm really, I just, hold on. Yes. Go ahead, y'all. Come on. Sorry, the kids.
we're all at home right now. And I'm sure the parents watching get it.
But what I really want to say, just about like this poetry and this journey and everything, it's like, oh, I feel like, oh, I have a voice. I have a voice. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry. I have a voice. So I am just articulating what I feel like life is feeling through me. So I don't know too much about what anybody else, I don't know about that part, but I feel like how I experience what life is, what color is, what feelings are, all of those types of things. That's really my purpose and why I'm on the planet, you know? So I'm kind of just like tuning in and listening to that a little bit more. And I share that. I hope that answers your question.
All right, John, did you want to add in and kind of sort of wrap us up on that perspective and question?
Paraphrasing Walt Whitman, I am man, I was there. Period. I am man, I was there.
All right.
It's all me.
Yeah. So for all of you again who are watching with us, if you missed any portion of tonight, I do want to remind you that you can view the earlier portions on our Facebook Live. So that will go live on our Facebook page. That includes our poets. So if you would like to also share this out with your team and your friends and your family, you can also share via our Facebook Live. And Trisha wanted to shout us out. She says you all are amazing. So she wants to give you love and props on doing a job well done. And thank you for, again, being here and being a part of this event. And that sort of concludes pretty much the evening. Emma, did you have any closing words that you wanted to sort of like wrap us up with?
No, I'm just going to shamelessly say that People's Open Mic will be back online. This may be the first time we've ever done this. This is highly experimental, and I'm hoping that everyone will join us. It's going to be the Solstice edition on June 24th. And just to follow Gallery Aferro for details, we're going to figure it out. And just thank you so much to the museum and the whole team, and to each of you poets for sharing of yourselves, for showing us what you can do and what you do. So thank you.
There's also some chat love for everybody. Mike has been shouting you out throughout the event. I want to make sure that I acknowledge Mike, because Mike's been, again, there saying nothing but positive, beautiful things. Also Ivan as well said wonderful performance. So I think it's important that we allow our audience, because they can't verbally say it, that I acknowledge them I verbally acknowledge their shout outs for you. And Megan also says, great job, love it. So hopefully we'll be able to do this again. Again, make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and I gave you a rundown of all of those events that we will have throughout the week. Those events can also be found on our social media platforms as well as our website. Again, thank you, artists. Make sure you reach out to our artists if you are interested in knowing more about them. As John said, he has a book coming up. Mia gave you her Instagram, and she will be selling those hats. And we got to shout out Joe. With any educator, like being a fellow educator, like we're glad you are still here to import or input more knowledge into the masses. So with that being said, we appreciate you sharing your gift. Again, thank you all. Thank you, Emma, and you all have a great night. Bye.